What's up, everybody? This is Whiskey in the Six. I'm Rob, and I'm doing part two anyway, of a three-part series on Isle of Arran. Just poured out the shot. Had a chance to try this a few times because this is about 150 milliliters, maybe a little less, probably maybe 120. Okay. I'm gonna nose it, taste it, tell you my impressions of it. Before I get into that though, I want to say that I'm really happy with what the Isle of Arran is doing. They're an independent bottler. They're on an island, obviously, off of Scotland. Okay, they're one of the few independent bottlers that remain in Scotland. Okay, this 14-year-old, which I will be reviewing probably Friday, is fantastic stuff. The Robert Burns that I already reviewed is really good stuff too. Not gonna lie, I had a little bit of trouble with this sherry cask finish. It's abbreviated at 46%. Sorry, not abbreviated. Its ABV, alcohol by volume, is 46%. All right. It's interesting, all right? You're gonna know by my nosing and tasting, all right? Here we go. Okay, you definitely pick up the sherry, all right? You pick up the influence of possibly a bourbon or several refilled cask prior to this in the whiskey. Okay, the finishing, I'm assuming, is not very long, and I'm also assuming that it's probably a refill cask as well, okay? Because this is natural color, so that tells me that it was probably in there for less than a year in the finish, maybe a little bit longer, and if it was longer, it's second or third fill casks, all right? And that's just, there's no way that it could be that light if it was 2, 3, 4 years in a first fill sherry cask. Okay, so it's pretty light. You do get a little bit of sherry though on the nose. Not a little bit, there's sherry present. When I'm nosing this, I get a ton of wet hay and a ton of grass. Okay, I'm not sure if you've ever had an opportunity to be in a barn before, but there's a lot of barn-like smell in this whiskey. Do get some apple, some very subtle nuances of chocolate, mostly dark chocolate, but that hay is very dominant. And as you let this develop in the glass, that's why I let it sit for a bit before I started the video, because as you let it develop, you start to pick up this ham-like note. It's very meaty, very savory nose on this one. There is sweet notes, but in my opinion, that hay and the ham-like notes kind of dominate. Okay, on the palate, it's a bit hot. It's bottled at 46%. You can definitely taste the strength in the alcohol. Adding a couple drops of water does help that. I tried that last night. It's oaky and sweet on the palate. Less of that hay, but you still get it. And a little less of that ham, but you still also get it. The palate is much nicer than the nose on this one, okay? But then again, I will say a lot of people really like those savory notes in their Scotch. So if you like a savory Scotch, this one's for you. This one's about $80 at the LCBO. Not exactly sure what it's going for globally, but based on LCBO prices and what they relatively are compared to other places, I'm gonna say that you could probably pick this up for about 40 to 50 pounds and maybe $55 to $60. That's my guess. All right. Like I said, it's unchill filtered, natural color. If you like a savory Scotch, this is definitely for you. I'm gonna grade this based on what's in the bottle, not my preference, okay? Because I wouldn't buy this at $80, although it's very complex. It has smells and tastes that would appeal to many Scotch lovers. I just prefer my Scotch not to be so savory. All right, this one is pretty savory. There is sweetness to it, and that's why I mentioned ham, because a Thanksgiving ham tends to be glazed with some sort of like maple syrup or honey or something like that, and you do pick up that sweetness in this nose, but you do also pick up that meaty ham note. But the palate's nice. It's not overwhelming. After your first sip, that alcohol burn subsides and you're able to sip this no problem without adding water if you don't like to do that. I'm gonna give this a B-, okay? It's not bad whiskey, it's good whiskey, it's just not what I'd be looking for at around $80. That being said, there's probably a ton of people out there that would really enjoy this. So based on my description, if you like a savory Scotch, then this is definitely for you, okay? It's just not my preference, okay? I know I got this sample for free from the distillery, but it's my job to be as honest with you guys as possible, all right? And I personally wouldn't purchase this at $80. Perhaps if you can find it for half that price, grab it, okay? In the States, you probably have a way better chance of getting it at a lower price. Then it's definitely a buy. But for me, at $80, I tend to go with something different, okay? At the end of the day, my job is to save you guys from spending money that you don't want to spend, all right? And if I'm not 100% honest, then this channel loses credibility, right? So it's a B- for me. If I had to choose between this or the Robert Burns Arran, I'd choose the Robert Burns in a heartbeat, okay? Because it's nicer all around, in my opinion, okay? I will tell you, however, even though I haven't reviewed this yet, the 14-year-old, this is much better for maybe $10 more. For $10 at the LCBO more, you can buy the Isle of Arran 14-year-old, also non-chill filtered, also no added color. This is really, really good stuff. So I will get to this Friday, but unfortunately for me, this just doesn't hit the mark, in my opinion. B- is not a horrible score. It's not a bad whiskey. It's definitely, if somebody served this to me, I'd have no problem drinking it. It's a sippable whiskey, just not something I'm going out to spend $80 on. All right. That's all for today. Like I said, the 14-year-old's coming up shortly. Next week, I'm gonna do the rest of my Black Art 4.1, 49.2%. All right. I'm gonna finish. I'm gonna review this sample. There's about, I would say, just over 30 milliliters in there. Okay. I do have the bottle, which will remain unopened for a little bit. Now that the 5.1 is coming out shortly, we'll see. I'm not going to be able to start the collection because to find the 1.1, the 2.1, or the 3.1 are pretty much impossible. So I'll definitely be looking for the 5.1 after tasting this, because it's really, really good stuff. Okay, so that's coming up. I do have a bottle of Cavalan Vino Barrique on its way. It's the Solist. It's the relative of the sherry cask soloist. Now, I'm not sure if it's gonna arrive, and once it does, I'll tell you more about it. I'll tell you how I got it, all these different things. But a lot's been shared about Cavallan Soloist, and from everything I hear, it's incredible stuff. Doesn't matter which one you get. The bourbon, the sherry, the Vino Barrique, the Fino sherry, they're all incredible apparently. So I haven't tried a Cavallan just yet. I'm hoping with that connection I'm going to be getting a sample of this one as well as a sample of the Vino Barrique, or the minis anyway, not quite a sample, so then I don't actually have to open this bottle. But if I can't get a sample of this, I'll definitely open it because it needs to be shared. Alright, you guys can follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, at Whisky in the 6 on Instagram, at Whisky_in_the_6 on Twitter, and Rob Reviews on Facebook. Again, this was a B-. Alright, go for it at your own risk, but it's not my total recommendation. Alright, cheers guys.